Do you go above and beyond at work or just do the bare minimum of what's expected and why? Story 1. In between, I try to complete my tasks to the best of my ability, and I try to help my coworkers whenever they need it. But I'm not working to my maximum limit exactly, or pushing myself to work as hard as I can, 247. You got to set the average standard for your output below your maximum possible ability, Answer. If you work in an industry where mastery is possible, this is the way to do it. You'll never really improve if you just scrape by. If your employer doesn't reward your efforts, change employer and find somewhere that will. The higher your mastery, the more freedom to choose you'll have, and the more clout you'll have in your work positions. I definitely slogged it out for the first 3 or 4 years of my career for mediocre pay, working with colleagues, not pulling weight. I got the skill mastery to move to companies with higher standards, and now I'm much happier. Story 2. I was giving my full effort and energy for a few years, and then during one appraisal, our CEO came and said, "We are happy to announce that we made 13x profit and our company is doing extremely well, but we can't give you any hike. But don't worry, we feel your frustration and our empathy is with you guys." This triggered me, and I just give my bare minimum since in searching for a new job since. Answer. Yep, worked my jerk off at a startup for years right out of college. Always took on more work. Asked for a raise after 5 years, they said next year. Started asking every few months, and they just got annoyed with me and said, "Other than this project you lead and are the sole developer on, what have you really done to earn a raise?" So I quit, fudged them, and now I'm jaded and don't work nearly as hard. There's no reason to. Either I'll get a raise or I won't. Has nothing to do with my performance. Story 3. I learned this the hard way that in most companies, the only reward for being the fastest digger is a bigger shovel. If you show them you can do the work of 2 people, they won't double your pay. They will just fire the other person and dump their work on you. So I do exactly what I am paid to do. Answer. I've noticed hard work does help you move up, but you need to be strategic also. Hard work on mundane tasks does nothing. You need to go above and beyond on things that your manager's manager will see, not just having the highest number on some scoreboard. You also need to tell people that you want to move up. My company has 1.1 meetings with your manager and a skip level with their manager. This is when you ask, what do I need to do to move up? It gets the idea in their heads. If you're always pushing for it, you'll be in the conversation even if you aren't necessarily better than your coworkers. It's really is a game and it's not fair, but being seen as a hard worker helps. Story 4. I treat my job as the company paying for my time. I don't really care what they ask me to do during that time. I'll do it however well I can while they're paying for that time. Putting in effort makes the workday go by faster. The fudge else am I going to do for 8 hours? Answer. Hi. Recently laid off. This is the 4th layoff and stretch of unemployment in the last 5 years for me. What else are you going to do with it 8 hours? Oh, my Lord, has my life been amazing when I don't have to work. I got sober. I ride my bike every day, learned to cook, read books, started working out, color, learn, going back to school. So much I do with my time when I'm unemployed. Those 8 hours of work really suck your soul away, lol. Story 5. Bare minimum. I used to go above and beyond, but realized quickly how little this amounts to. You end up doing everyone else's work for the same pay. No recognition, no promotion. Still get denied anything you ask for. All while watching the delinquent and lazy workers who all abuse the policies get everything they want. Imagine someone having 4 absences on the year and nothing happens to them. But I get punished for having approved surgery scheduled a month ahead of time. Answer. I see this a lot with people with children. I had a coworker, was a single mom, take time off all of the time. She would leave early, show up late, take personal phone calls from her child's father, literally all of the time. I started getting these really bad migraines that took a while to figure out the cause and the cure. I was written up, verbally warned, and honestly low-key bullied by my coworkers, including the mom, for calling out a lot, needing to leave to go to my neurologist. It's like they didn't believe me that, yes, a person can have a migraine multiple times a week, and yes, I really do need to see all of these specialists. Totally unfair. Story 6. After being laid off after 10 years at a corporate job I thought cared about my achievements. Big mistake. I just do what I'm asked in my new role. I put my best effort in, but otherwise I leave at 5 and don't try to win any awards or go above and beyond. At the end of the day, if they need to cut numbers, they will regardless of your performance. Answer. Most of the responses I am seeing here that address making yourself invaluable and work ethic are presumably from folks who have never been shafted. My dad was one of these people right up until he fudge wasn't. He is in an incredibly specialized role in an extremely niche field, so he always thought he was special. Well, back in 2020, most of the people in his area of the company got laid off. I'm talking breadwinners close to retirement who'd been with the company for a decade or more, right along with young up-and-comers. It completely reoriented how my dad approaches his job. Many of those who were laid off were his longtime friends and coworkers. And since this area is so specialized, finding a new job in the field could very well mean moving across the country. It's just a job to him now. Story 7. Bare minimum. I once went above and beyond at my job, so much so I was practically married to it, while doing the job of 3 people, but only with the salary of 1, because I wanted that promotion so badly. Then they hired a teenager to take it, the only time I ever quit in disgust. Answer. They taught me that in my very first job, 3-year project at university, put in an extra hour every day for 2.5 years because I wanted the project to succeed. During the final 6 months, my boss started calling me every day a minute after work began and a minute before it ended to make sure I wouldn't skip a single minute, and berated me like a child when I was 5 minutes late. That's when you learn that going the extra mile with no position to be promoted to is never rewarded. Story 8. Dislike the question that doesn't seem to suggest there's a middle ground. There are days that I do very little. There are others that I'm working late to get whatever the urgent and visible thing is done. On balance, it works out fine, and I've progressed ahead of what is typically expected in my industry without slavishly eliminate myself every day. Answer. Totally agree with this. I've absolutely put my nose to the grindstone when I have to, working late or early, helping other teams when it's all hands on deck to meet deadlines, etc. Then other times when things are slow, I do nothing but monitor emails and watch YouTube or otherwise male body part around on my phone on Reddit. It's a give and take that all averages out. Story 9. Depends on your job and what you want to achieve at it. Personally, I'm working a job I don't plan on being at forever and see people get away with putting in less effort than I do for the same pay. So yeah, I put in what I consider the bare minimum for me. Story 10. I can't not, but I wish I was one of the people that just coast. They seem to get to enjoy life way more and have less stress. For me, getting shoot done is the only way I can manage my stress levels. So how they can let things go to crap and still not lose sleep. I envy that sometimes. Answer. I am the same. My industry, counting, is notoriously toxic with long hours and unsustainable workloads. The people that coast are either constantly getting called out for missed work deadlines, or they are really good at deflecting blame and throwing other people under the bus. Both of these things would keep me up at night way more than the stress and burnout. I don't know what to do. Story 11. Because what I do affects my coworkers, I do my best. Mostly because I've seen that someone doing the bare minimum requires more work from others to pick up slack. I'm usually the slack picker-upper. Because if you don't do that day's work, it still has to get done. Story 12. I go above and beyond for 2 main reasons. Job is more than just a paycheck. I know when I need something like taking more days off or absence or anything like that, they will do whatever they can to help me. It's a mutual relationship based on give and take. As a professional, I also have a professional courtesy to do a good job to gain a reputation in the field. Answer yes. The answer to this question totally depends on the job at hand. You at Taco Bell? Fudge that place, man. But if you are, say, a professional engineer, doing your best is the only thing that makes you stand out in a sea of mediocre engineers. You're the one who doesn't get laid off when the waves come and go. You also start to get asked things by younger engineers who need help and eventually looked at for leadership SME roles. Eventually being the high performer engineer who really owns things that are given to them is quite literally the only way you're getting promoted. A bare minimum, do nothing unless specifically asked engineer is not making it to grade 7, maybe not even to grade 6 in most corporate structures. Senior engineer, grade 5, is where many will stall out whenever they could become managers or become principals, technical expert corporate tracks, and make significantly more money. Story 13. I used to. The guy who was the storeman was a great guy, and I had total respect for him and would do anything for him. Unfortunately, he died from cancer last year, and the guy who replaced him is a bit of a male body part at times, and I don't respect him like his predecessor. So yeah, I will give a little extra, but nowhere near as much. Story 14. I don't think I fall somewhere in the middle. Oftentimes, I will do a great job that makes me a higher performer, but I usually just limit it to work hours. There can be some cases where I will go and do stuff in the evenings to make things successful if I think it's critical. The big thing is I won't make my baseline. I do extra work every day to get stuff done. At the end of the day, I do take some pride in doing good work, but I know eliminate myself getting work done, it is not going to get me any significant form of compensation additionally where I work. We are not paid hourly. And just like everywhere else, salary bumps are not amazingly worth the effort at my level. I can probably push hard for one more promotion for maybe 10 salary bump, or I could choose not to and use the extra time probably to make more money if I really cared that much. Or just look for a new gig that paid more. I don't think now is the best time for such a change, and I make more than enough to live comfortably. Also, I do think the phrase, I work to live and live to work, so I try to limit my hours overall. But that doesn't mean I have to do the bare minimum. While I'm there, I think doing a good job is a way to feel a sense of accomplishment. Story 15. Above and beyond for 2 reasons. I was raised to do a job well. When it comes time to lay people off, I want to make it difficult for them to put me on that list. My company force ranks performance and uses a 9-block rating as well. The goal is to stay out of the bottom. Answer. When it comes time to lay people off, I want to make it difficult for them to put me on that list. My company force ranks performance and uses a 9-block rating as well. The goal is to stay out of the bottom. If layoffs are always 100 performance based at your place, then good strategy. But be careful. I was literally a key person dependency at my last job and still got laid off because the decisions got made based more on who is friends with who. I picked the losing side in the office politics war. Story 16. I usually go above and beyond if I'm treated with respect. The reason is because when I go above and beyond, it increases my odds of moving up in that organization, but I'll really only do that if it's an organization in which I want to stay. The exception is if a title change is in the works, and I want to use that for when I apply elsewhere. Since being hired, I received 2 promotions over the person who interviewed me, and when layoffs happened, he was cut while I was put in charge of a new unit with a raise, so it pays off. Story 17. I do my best every day. I have certain goals I want to hit and certain things I want to get done, and once I have them done, I am satisfied. For me, it's not about them, it's about me. I do my best because I want to be able to live with myself, and I take great pride in my work. Story 18. If I go to a pizza joint and order a pizza, I expect to just get a pizza. I don't get mad and yell, "Where's the garlic knots? 2-liter soda, buffalo wings," basically saying you get what you pay for. I do the bare minimum because that's all they paid for. Story 19. I do everything to the best of my ability and strive to take on as much responsibility as possible. Why? Because give it enough time of doing the bare minimum and you'll find yourself asking what the point of existing is. I don't do it for my company. On the contrary, I remind everyone I know that your company has no loyalty to you, and it's completely a transaction of service for money. I do it for myself because the only way to improve is to have an improvement mindset. Can't have that doing the bare minimum. Why improve? Because the alternative is facing irrelevance. If you don't improve yourself while others do, you'll always find yourself on the bottom. Story 20. In the way they want? Probably not. My employer would absolutely let me work way more hours, to just keep my head down and crank out as much work as possible, to stop trying to hold people accountable or bringing up possible problems. In ways that I'm sometimes drawn to solve problems that are beneficial but not asked of me. Sometimes I enjoy reporting. I was given a task that needed it and used that as excuse to make sure we had as much as we could with what we had. Even made a tweak this week because some data was missing. In ways that can save me hassle and/or inconvenience later, as much as I can muster. This often contradicts with the first way I mentioned. I push to make sure expectations are set and documented. I try to document things so there are fewer questions and less confusion. I point out possible issues or opportunities when providing input. All of these things, if not done, can mean things end up back in front of me to fix. Story 21. I always start out strong with 110 until I see that I'm treated as a liability instead of an asset. If my manager presumes incompetence even after I consistently go the extra mile, then I dial it way back and start looking for another job. I'm really tired of managers expecting me to constantly prop up their upwardly failing jerk while they shoot on me and my coworkers. Story 22. I learned that no matter how hard I worked and how much I excelled, the only recognition I got was more work. I learned that the hard way with my last job. Instead of hiring the third person we needed, they just dumped work on me and then told me I didn't deserve a decent raise when I asked. Nowadays, I get the shoot done that's put on my desk, but that's it. Gone are the days of staying late, going in early, and stressing for companies that, if I passed today, would have my job posted before I was even cold. Story 23. Always go above and beyond in my allotted hours. If I slacken work, which is a large part of my life, that will spill over to other parts of my life. Don't let your standards slip. Also, if you do your best, you will be recognized, and sure, they may put more work on you, but that's experience ready for either a new position in your current company or at another place. Always strive to do your best. Story 24. My mom always says that you should do your part and don't slack. She works in healthcare, and whenever we are out and she sees someone half-assing their job, she always says, if I would work like that, people would die. A good example was recently we took a bus and we asked if this bus takes the route X, and the bus driver literally said, I don't know. Story 25. Early in my career, I worked for a company that paid for your dinner if you put in 2.5 hours of overtime that day. The salary sucked, and free dinners 4 nights a week helped a lot. So that caused me to normally put in a 50-hour week. Many people work longer than that, but I only did it for the free food. It did probably help me to get noticed, but the big jumps came from switching jobs. Story 26. As a military member, my job changes regularly, and one such assignment completely beat the give a shoot out of me. I went from someone building cool cutting-edge stuff to, how long is it until DH won't be mad if I leave? Say what you want, but one really dumb assignment can greatly impact a person. And it wasn't even the people I worked for. I liked them. It was a completely awful mission. Story 27. I try to do the bare minimum. I've learned being a top performer or trying to hard isn't going to give me more money, just more work and higher expectations. So I chill most of the time, but I tend to still do better than most as I can't get myself to just stop caring. Story 28. Depends where I work. When I was at the RV factory, bare minimum. Now that I work for an animal shelter, I give my all. Giving animals comfort and cleanliness helps my purpose day to day, regardless of the money. I can't stand working for bigger corporations unless what they are doing greatly benefits humanity and also benefits their local community. The latter is a huge part that's missing in today's world with corporations, in my opinion. Story 29. I used to go above and beyond, working my tail off to do my work and help anyone I could. All it ever got me was more work and a front row seat to watch everyone I covered for and helped out get promoted before me. Now I do what I need to do day to day, and that's it. I have no interest in promotion or advancement. I'm already at a level where my next step would be supervision, and that isn't something that I'm remotely interested in. Story 30. I was self-employed for decades, running my own construction company. I have only one gear, and that is full speed ahead. Now I'm in corporate stupid world, and I know my efforts will not be rewarded. I don't care. I can't make myself slack off, even if I try. I can't stand it. I have 7 years until retirement, and I outwork 20-year-olds daily. But nobody cares. We all get paid the same. I work this hard for me. It's what I do. I'm happier this way. Story 31. Right in the middle. I'm respectful to my management team and easy to work with, but I don't let them take advantage of me. Set a limit. I complete the work I'm given with minimal and constructive complaints. I don't ask for help, nor do I help out. Lowell got a lot of whiners at work, but I will help those who I believe deserve it or really need it. We got guys that'll meanie about anything, but we also got good, hardworking people who get slammed unfairly with work and are struggling. Story 32. Nope, I give the bare minimum at work. After years of going above and beyond, with the only reward being more work and little raises, while people who did less than the minimum were networking with the managers got ahead, yeah, I'm not busting my jerk at work ever again. I'll work hard enough not to get fired. It's the motivation speech from Office Space, really. Story 33. I do the bare minimum. 1. I work service tickets, basically. Some are self-generated and others are called in. They can last 20 mins or like 3 hours, depending on the problem. The expectation is take the ones you have to and try and find like 4 on your own a month. But it's not really all that busy. Because I cannot work from home and have to be at work for my entire shift, I try and do one 20-min ticket a day. Story 34. I walk in knowing what I want to get done that day, and I do it. Some days it takes more effort than others. I like that my work contributes actively to the success of my store and my company, because if we do well, I can expect a bonus and a nice raise next quarter. Plus, it's a great feeling when my customers compliment my store and my department because it lets me know that I'm doing something unique that they can only find in our store. I'm a toys games specialist for a major book retailer. It's the best job at the best store in the best company. I'm very fortunate. Story 35. I started with a union company in 1986 at the suggestion of a lady who lived across the street from me. She told me 3 things. Be on time, be willing to learn, be the best of what you do. I struggled with the first cause I was a kid, but the other 2 I've tried to do my entire career. When I moved to the outside construction end of it, I got more advice. Be where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Ask questions. Keep learning. I love what I do, and I'm compensated for doing a good job, not only on my paycheck, but in keeping safe because it is a dangerous job. I would imagine that if it was a thankless job and I had a thankless boss, my attitude might be different. Story 36. Any job I've had over my life, I start out going above and beyond. After getting taken advantage of, walked over, and watched people who did 13, the work I did get promoted for jerk kissing, I just give up and start doing the exact guideline for my job. Nothing extra, no helping others, just doing my job. Corporate America is no longer about employees being family, but about shoving a body into a position and replacing it whenever needed. Story 37. I do the bare minimum to the best of my abilities. When I'm at work, I work hard and strive to do well. But I don't do overtime that I'm not going to be compensated for, and I max out all benefits like PTO, medical, and the other little things my job gives us. I'm not looking to climb the ladder. Burnout in my industry is basically inevitable during the busy season, so it's important to maintain that work-life balance, and practicing it year-round helps. Story 38. So long as my work pays me the minimum, they will get the minimum. I will let them know I want more responsibility and show that I am capable of meeting their expectations. But we have created a system that favors paying the least to get the most and openly promotes it. So long as that system is in place, I will not willingly offer myself to be exploited in the hopes that my employer chooses to pay it back when they have no obligation to do so and every reason to push me to my breaking point before folding. If I thought my extra hard work would do anything but enrich the pockets of my employer, who makes many magnitudes more than I would, but that's proven untrue. Unionize, support profit sharing, be the better boss when you have the chance to. Story 39. My bare minimum is above and beyond of what these idiots are capable. I was once told to stay in my lane when I first started. I stay in my lane and watch them struggle. They always come to me as a last resort, and I figure it all out within a minute. Story 40. I do my job to my standards, which are high, but I don't eliminate myself. I just take pride in what I do and want it to be good. If I get annoyed with the boss, I'll slack off a little. If I'm shown appreciation, I tend to work a little harder for a little while. I learned a long time ago that my time is worth more to me than any job could ever pay me. So I don't work part-time and don't take any work home with me. It's a trade-off, making less, but I'm more happy than I've ever been. Story 41. I work how I want to represent myself. I'll work hard, but won't eliminate myself for an employer. As we all know, they can and will replace you without a second thought. Perfect example, my last job. Called out once because I had COVID. Always volunteered to help when they were short. Never late, never written up. They changed me to a part-time employee and ghosted me. Story 42. I do more than expected, but less than my maximum. I always got positive results out of it, promotions, etc. But I actually do it because it is a level that I feel good about, and I feel like I am doing a great job, which lifts my mood up and be proud of what I do. Story 43. Most of my fun, interesting jobs have been because I was good at my previous job, where I enjoyed what I was doing, and it showed. 2,000 miles away in a new town, I got a job because a previous contact told my new contact, "Hey, Mr. Remji just moved out there. Look them up. They are great." That led to multiple jobs over the years. I will save the bare minimum for something I don't care for, and that no one cares what the result is. Someday. But let's call out reality. There are days that you're not feeling it. It's reasonable to find your way through. Superman, Supergirl need a break to have their capes cleaned sometimes. They just don't show that in the comics. Story 44. I do what I need to, but not much more. I've been here 30 years, and I have the type of job that is an endless river of tasks. You never really finish, you just go to the next thing. If you do finish tasks, that just triggers more tasks, so I pace it. Story 45. Depends on my capacity for work on any given day. If I am feeling good and well supported in a day, I'll put my best self forward and help wherever I can. If I am feeling sick or overworked and underappreciated, It'll do what I need to do to get through my day. If my workplace offers systems of support for me to access, I'm much more inclined to put my best work forward and deal with my issues through the supports available. Story 46. I procrastinate and definitely don't feel like I go above and beyond. Yet I'm constantly told that I work hard and do a great job. I feel like that Steve Carell meme every time. I think it's just where I live, people don't really work hard. And where I grew up working hard was part of the culture. Story 47. Pick my spots. There is some work in which the maximum you can perform is 2-spec. So you do that 2-spec. Other work you can overachieve in. So that's where you can apply extra energy. Typically that comes in planning on how to better perform that 2-spec work. Story 48. I've always gone above and beyond. I was told by managers before things like, you don't have to sell yourself all the time, because I was consistently friendly to everyone who came into the office. Logistics office, so truckers, delivery drivers, longshoremen, etc. They all got treated like crap by the other office people, but I don't believe in that ideology. I've been told to tone it down and stop trying so hard so many times that I didn't realize I was getting fired until it happened. The reason I believe in going above and beyond is because I consider myself more capable than the average human. So the average is the minimum for me, and I don't like doing the minimum. If I'm going to bother going somewhere for 40 PTURs a week, then I'm going to bother having a good time with it as much as possible. Story 49. Gave 110 until my poor review performance, which rates my attendance as average. I was never late or called off once. I found out in the top secret meeting that managers were asked to rate everyone low so they didn't have to hand out raises. Now I hide whenever possible and make those issues. I was so good at diffusing their problem now. Story 50. Bare minimum in reality, but portrayed myself as a good worker on the surface when I needed to. But I was rarely monitored. I did my own thing and then some most of the time. If they knew what I was up to, they would have had me arrested, and I completely got away with it for decades. Never got caught. Why did I do it? Because fudge them. They thought they were fudge me over, when in reality I fudged them over way, way more and benefited greatly in the process. Story 51. I feel kind of disgusted in just a clash of worldview, I guess, from people who say bare minimum. How can you be content with not wanting to become masterful at the thing you've chosen to spend most of your life doing? In the alternative sense, you're still going to spend most of your life doing it. So you are rebellious with what outcome? Just mediocrity. Do you think mastery and your other goals are mutually exclusive? Answer. Thing is, like everything in life, nothing's perfect. I personally love my job at RD, but it has some shoot things that personally I think should not be our department's job that I do dislike. I usually don't need to work above average when doing what I like because I love doing it and it just flows. But for regulatory paperwork and other boring shoot, I really do go bare minimum as I'm not passionate at all about it. And most of our department would agree it should not be part of our job. Additionally, I can understand how people who have a job they're not passionate about, or you can't evolve much in, like factory workers who do repetitive stuff, will always do the bare minimum. It only makes sense. Story 52. I show up early every day. I'm never late, and I rarely call out. I'll stay over, work overtime, and come in on my off days if asked to. I show up and do my absolute best to go above and beyond every single time I have the chance. Now, as to why. I am a 31-YO easily angered man who gets frustrated quickly with anyone who is younger than 22 or that thinks their jacked up pickup truck somehow makes them superior to the rest of us. I am not the poster child for howdy diddly doodly neighbor. I have a foul mouth, a short temper, and darn near no filter at all. But I am honest to a fault, and I show up every day and do a good job. It's basically me giving myself job security by being such an insane asset to the team that I am difficult to get rid of, even if my upper management wants to. Story 53. I'm amazed how few people here are in the work hard category. If you're trying to move up in a career that's how you do it, push a little harder than normal. Try to set yourself up for a promotion by taking on ownership of certain things. If you do bare minimum, it's absolutely noticed and you're not going anywhere. Story 54. I go above and beyond, and I've absorbed the work of additional people. Since taking my current role, I've absorbed the responsibilities of 2 full-time individuals in addition to what I was doing. One of those people might have been 75 dead weight, but the other certainly was not. I replaced a person that was a grade above me. It's a story that I can point to anytime the subject of rifts comes up. My job certainly gets more out of me than I do of it, but in the grand scheme of my life, I'm good with it. Maybe I'm a sucker, but but I never feel like it. There are stressful days, but my anxiety of a riff is non-existent. I didn't double my salary, but I have the 2 leaders above me in the organization that will go to bat for me anytime it's needed. Do I work a lot? Yep. Should I? Debatable. I don't have kids. My wife works quite a bit as well. We have bills to pay and trips to go on and experiences to have in our time away from work. We also don't have to worry about crippling medical debt due to my wife's chronic conditions because of the benefits at my job. Story 55. I wouldn't take Reddit replies on this topic seriously. Anyone replying in the US is using Reddit in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. I wouldn't consider this group the most successful people. I'm only on Reddit BC. I'm waiting at the airport for work. Story 56. As a federal employee, it's hard to go the extra mile when you're being characterized as some lazy POS leeching off taxpayers. Contrary to MAGA belief, the majority of us routinely went above and beyond, came in early or stayed late, but since we've been vilified, we've scaled back to mainly doing what's required. Going above and beyond is only on an as-needed basis. Story 57. I've been on the worker side and the owner side. This is my advice. Take it or leave it. No matter what you do in life, give it your all. When you get to the point you pull into the parking lot of your job and you say to yourself, man, fudge this shoot, that's when it's time for you to find another job. Update your resume and start applying that very same day. If you gave your all at that job, you'll find a better job. I guarantee it. If you do the bare minimum on a job, you'll do the bare minimum in your life. That's all you'll get out of life is the bare minimum. The more you learn, the smarter you get. The more you know how to do, the more you'll make. I'm not saying be the boss's meanie because that won't get you anything but used. I am saying use them the same way they use you. Take advantage of every opportunity to learn and advance yourself you can. Stock purchase programs, 401k, college reimbursement, training programs, etc. Most people don't even ask about that stuff when they work a job. They only look at the dollar per hour per year and overlook the real value of the job. Story 58. I do the bare minimum in most cases. But when there is the opportunity to say, help someone out, etc., I tend to help. And if they ask, I tell them to just let my manager know how helpful I am. Since I'm a contractor ATM, it works well to do my job well enough and to then stand out in moments I know they'll talk to leadership about me, just hoping it leads to a contract extension because the job market sucks right now. Story 59. My job is RD, future technology related to video gaming. It's fun. I get paid for patents, paid when I win hackathons, get to go on trips, get to meet startups developing stuff still in secret. People who leave for other companies will remember me. And I develop my own skills the harder I push myself. At this point, not doing my best will feel uncomfortable. Story 60. I give bare minimum on things within my set of rote responsibilities, but go above and beyond on peripheral projects that I was given the green light to pursue for my own professional and personal benefit, i.e., subsidize courses on learning how to code, AI subscriptions, conferences, putting together programs for my own portfolio, etc. Story 61. If there's a critical issue, I'll step up and help to make sure it's handled, but it's an exception and not standard. I used to go above and beyond. All it got me was more responsibility, same pay, while others took credit for my ideas. I do what's required, collect my check, and don't stress about work ever again. Story 62. I shifted from one to the other after a health scare. I practically broke myself trying to return to work at full capacity, only to be met with gaslighting and disrespect. Once I realized the loyalty wasn't reciprocal, I switched to strict malicious compliance. Story 63. Bare minimum. I already have one foot in retirement and can't wait for the other one to follow. I tried training people to take over for me, but they can't even be bothered to perform the simplest and most mundane things I do. I've been a Unix admin for 38 years. So I decided that if they didn't GAF, neither would I, and I stopped training them. I do try to at least document what I do so that when I'm gone, they might have a chance in hell of figuring out how to carry on. But by that point, I most definitely will no longer have any F's to give. I do what I have to do. And if there's a crisis emergency, my professionalism kicks into high gear, and I'll do whatever it takes at whatever day hour for whoever long it takes to get things resolved. But then it's back to treading water until I'm gone. Story 64. My coworker had the same job as me. I was working 3 times more than him, and he is on the phone all the time. Last few months, I became bare minimum worker. Suddenly, he is angry all the time. Depressed. Interesting, huh? When you taste your own medicine. I love it now. I'm just literally sitting at work and scrolling Reddit. If they fire me, I get few thousand anyway. Story 65. I go above and beyond in doing the exact things needed to complete my job. Rest of the time, approx 4 to 5 hours per day, I use to learn new skills and comment on Reddit. My job is nothing really special in that sense, but I am also extremely good at it. And in the past, I used to die for the job. Didn't really bring me much success. The moment I started doing just enough is the moment I had all the promotions and pay increases, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Story 66. For my team, I dog deep and try and get them the tools, training, and time they need to meet company goals. For my reporting and daily paper pushing bare minimum, in fact, I've completed a study recently of not filing several different reports, and I'm waiting for upper management to clock it. One critical must be filed monthly report. I have not sent up the chain in 2 years. Zero blowback. There are others that's the more egregious. Story 67. Depends. Will I have a chance at promotion, raise, or bonus if I work harder? What's the nature of the work? If going above and beyond is sift 100 bags of flour for bugs to make your boss smile, then no. If it's rework a system to make life easier for you and your coworkers, potentially proving you worthy of moving up and looking great on your resume, then yes. Story 68. I went above and beyond for 2 years, until I woke up one morning with intense chest and back pain, pain in my jaw, which radiated down my left arm. An hour later, I was in the ER getting tested for a heart attack. After that, I just go slightly above the minimum. I'm not going to eliminate myself for a company. Story 69. I go above and beyond, but I do not compromise my well-being to do so. 8 to 5 is my boss's time. I work my jerk off and do everything in my power to do the job well. I occasionally work overtime unpaid, but this is the exception, not the rule. To be fair, my employer really takes care of the employees. We are compensated well, spoilt, and appreciated. Everyone at my company works really hard. It is the company culture. Story 70. I go above and beyond for things that I would like to be rewarded for, or for assignments that I feel match my career preferences. I'm hoping that showing my strong skills in some things and my lack of skill in others will help shape my role more to my liking. For anything else, I try not to work too hard. Story 71. I do a bit of both, but any above and beyond is usually meant for my coworkers. I have done more, and it's gotten me nothing from the company. But you help out your coworkers, and the good ones will reciprocate, and if lucky, the bad ones might target someone else instead. Story 72. I used to go above and beyond, and it got me nowhere. The truth is 95 of the stuff you do at work goes completely unnoticed. What is noticed is when you mess something up. If the right people are watching, it can be worth it, but most of the time you're just screwing yourself over. Story 73. I legitimately enjoy my job and am paid very well. I learn a ton and I have a supportive team. My direct manager is awesome. Company management is meh. We're allergic to hiring more for some reason. I do what I feel like, and I'm motivated by new learning experiences and getting hands dirty with my team. But I also have times when I just call it early for the day and go have a beer. It's a balance. Some days are fudge it, some days are fudge yeah. Story 74. I do the job I'm paid for and ask if I can help out elsewhere. I can do my job incredibly efficiently when I want. However, I procrastinate because I know how simple it is to finish it. Therefore, I see no time racing towards the finish line when I can poke at it for a day or two. Story 75. Bare minimum with the occasional superstar moment. I have a lot of knowledge on what I do, and my opinion carries a lot of weight where I work. I just need to show them that I don't fudge shoot up, and they leave me alone. I learned early on that going out of my way to do everyone else's job just increased their expectations of me. Story 76. It's a mix of both, but I really enjoy what I do for work. I spent years in university to get my BSc and MSc in geology, so I am happy doing what I do. I'm interested in my work, so I also put effort into it. Luckily, it's also been noticed from time to time. Story 77. I was a bare minimum kind of guy when I was younger. As I've gotten older and more experience, I've learned that how you do anything is how you do everything. And I always put my best foot forward. I wouldn't say that I always go above and beyond, but I'm always the first to step up and do what needs to be done. And I live by do more than you're paid for. And inevitably, you will get paid for more than you do. Obviously, that's not the case everywhere, and I understand when people do the bare minimum, but I'm just not a bare minimum kind of person. I think a lot of people are just lazy and use what's the point as justification for it. Whatever I'm doing at my best. I've learned that you create more work for yourself by trying to take shortcuts than by just doing what needs to be done. If you do it right the first time, you won't have to do it again later. It's worked for me, and anywhere where that isn't the case, I quit and go somewhere where it is. Story 78. Above and beyond, as long as I get my guys something out of it. It doesn't have to be money at first, but it should be something that can be proven with data. Then I make sure I'm not neglecting my private life. So whatever I'm doing needs to become more efficient. I keep my creativity in check by requiring data. Story 79. Imbalance these days used to be hardcore above beyond. I missed my husband. I was struggling with certain substances to help me cope. Now I'm off them. My husband and I are happier, and I make a conscious point of logging off in the afternoon at a reasonable time. Story 80. I tend to go above and beyond. At my old jobs, it was to prove that I do take initiative and show that I'm a hard worker. Now it's because I honestly am enthusiastic and love my job. My current workplace is the healthiest environment I have ever worked in, and I do feel appreciated for my efforts. Plus, I have a lot of fun. Story 81. I'm a public sector worker, and some of my coworkers are the same type of losers as some of the people commenting in here. We are all on the same pay scale, but too many of them barely do jack shoot, and the rest of us suffer trying to pick up their slack. Story 82. Once upon a time, I went above and beyond. All it ever got me was trouble. The business leader, who mostly despised how well-liked I was, had it out for me and would always tell me to stay in my lane whenever she felt the need. Until she needed something done that wasn't my job but could be asked of me. Joke was on her. I planned to leave behind her back, and everyone but her knew until my very last day. Anyway, when I transferred to a new location, I stopped going above and beyond. Best decision I ever made. Story 83. It really depends on your perspective. When you're working a regular job, you can get away with doing the minimum that's technically what you're paid for. Doing more is usually nice to have and sometimes gets rewarded, but not always. When you work for yourself, running a business or a project, there is no minimum. If you're not pushing things forward, your goals just don't happen. You feel that directly. The sad truth is a lot of employers love people who work for two but still get one salary. That's where burnout and frustration are born. That's why it actually makes sense to care about automation and AI. Not to become a robot, but to streamline your work, get the boring stuff off your plate, deliver more than the bare minimum while still having time for your own life. For example, at Vertical AI, we build agents you can train to, write social media posts in your style, analyze data you feed them, or support other repetitive tasks. They do it faster, with ideas you might not have thought of on a tired day, and they save you a ton of time. Story 84. I just do what my job description says I need to do. No more, no less. I can only do one job at a time, and the work that's in front of me, if my manager wants to add tasks or take them away, that's up to him, but I'll not rush around to get them done. Just do what's required of me. Story 85. My mentality is to do a job that I am satisfied with, preferably proud of it, but I can't run at 100 every day. I work hard, I relax hard. No point living with avoidable shame. I am at my core lazy, so I try to compensate by being efficient. To my mind, I don't go above and beyond. I think of myself as an above-average worker, but the bar is low, so it's not hard to seem like a great worker by comparison. Story 86. Bare minimum, considering the circumstances. In the last year, I've had 4 managers, 5 reorgs, and narrow clarity on how I'm supposed to do my job. While I look for a new job, I refuse to go above and beyond for a place that can't even tell me what my job is on any given day. But also, the type of work I do isn't saving lives. If I left today, I doubt they'd even replace the position. Story 87. I kind of do both. If I see something that needs done, and it's not a huge demand, I'll jump in and knock that out. I work on a golf course, and mornings are a scramble to beat the golfers. I don't really have the luxury of waiting for the guy whose job it was to drive back over and fix it. I fix it myself and make sure to bust the other guy's balls about it later. That said, once the morning rush is over and we've moved on to the non-time crunched part of the day, I can often be found hiding by the dump pile smoking plant substance. Story 88. I do what I need to do to get paid. Never forget you're just a number to most companies. Quickly replaced, forgotten. Learned my lesson. Went above beyond, and you end up getting more and more to do for no extra money. Then the last job, when I put in my notice, the boss literally never spoke enough word to me, not even a morning when passing in the corridor. Story 89. I've had jobs I dislike or just took for a stopgap. I did the bare minimum. Otherwise, I always try to do that little bit more. Go home each day feeling like I did a good job. It's paid off for me. I've had promotions in every job I've taken and job security in difficult times. I've had coworkers in the past turn up and barely do the bare minimum, then complain that they aren't considered for promotions or that their boss is constantly on their jerk. Not always the case, but sometimes you get back what you put in. Story 90. I was told I have intrinsic motivation, but I do my job in the month of October, planning, booking resources, and reservations. The rest of the year, I just do the weekly task. Everyone thinks me and my team work so hard. I will say never expose your hand, you will get more work. But that is actually what made me get where I am today. Story 91. I used to go above and beyond. Now I do the bare minimum, and that's only after being asked sometimes by my boss to get it done. I'm a school psychologist that makes less money than some new teachers in my district that do absolutely nothing. How do they get more? They know the superintendent. Story 92. I used to go above and beyond until all the work of 2 teams fell only on me as people left. Newer, inexperienced leadership who never learned what the work entailed let that happen to me. Then gave me a trainee I could hardly understand and expected me to be able to train them on everything and do anything I do, plus all the stuff that got dumped on me that I only knew enough about to maintain. Jokes on them, I can't teach, and especially someone whose first language is not English, with 0 industry experience, no drive to take ownership of the tasks taught, and this person was told they could do it all from home. Burnout is real, and I just do what I can now, so I don't lose my mind from the effects of bad leadership decisions. Just have to hang on a few more years and retire from this place with their health benefits that I need from the toll of stress they put on me. Story 93. At my last job, you got paid the same for whether you put in no effort or all the effort. It didn't matter, but I found that if I nip-pointed problems in the bud ASAP, that I would have less stress or issues coming up and could have longer breaks or more peace. It was actually easier to do exactly what I was supposed to do, and nothing more than that than it was to do the bare minimum. Unfortunately, even if I wanted to go above and beyond, it would tick off my coworker who did the bare minimum effort. She didn't like how people would complain that I did this or that, and that she didn't do any of that. She said I was making her look bad. Eventually, I started to find a balance that helped her and myself out to where she stopped complaining and instead really appreciated my efforts. She stopped becoming a problem and became a friend once we worked on that balance. In my new field that I'm heading into, bare minimum or less could hurt patients, and I don't want to do that. I want to go above and beyond to help people. Story 94. I straddle the line. I'll go above and beyond in my duties. I'll take extra shifts and help out my coworkers. I'm proactive in trying to find solutions for small issues while they're small, but everything is confirmed by a supervisor before enacted. I stop work as soon as I'm clocked out, and I stick to my job description. I'm happy to chat with people and say I do it a certain way, but I'm not doing it if it's outside my duties. I work multiple roles and have changed department mid-shift, but I've made sure the pay has been adjusted accordingly. I will go above and beyond in my duties and work hours, and nothing outside of that. This is paid off on the first offered when there are extra shifts or opportunities for fun and unusual shifts. And I have a good relationship with my managers. They know my limits and respect them. I can't do bare minimum. I have too much pride and joy in what I do, and I dislike to leave extra work for my coworkers. But I also know my value, and I'm not working for free. Story 95. I did way more than every worker and went above and beyond. Got a lot of praise. I mainly did it for job security. If the shoot ever went down, I wanted to be the one with 40 hours, the one they would keep full time. In the end, I got my hours cut in half, and slackers and people who did bare minimum got more hours, and I eventually had to quit. I feel like the new manager wanted me to quit to save money because I got 2 more an hour, and they would rather have bare minimum and save 2 an hour. I guess it's just boisiness. So now below bare minimum. Story 96. I do what I consider the moral minimum. I will work my stable, steady pace I can keep going on forever. I will not actively seek to only meet the minimum like some people, but if there is 10 minutes until lunch break, I won't seek new work as I am still on pace. Story 97. I used to go way above and beyond since college-era jobs. Last year, I was shown how deeply unnecessary and draining it all ways. Now I force myself to only do a bit above bare minimum, which is still a lot, but I can only stop myself from doing too much, so much LOL. Story 98. As a contractor, I do go above and beyond. Here's why. I bill hourly. More work is just more hours for me. I have a contractual min-max that I will work, and any remaining work is carried over to the next day. My clients are accustomed to sloppy workers who don't do the job properly and cut corners. I stand out because I do a thorough job and don't cut corners. It is very rare that a client is unhappy with my work. My industry is very niche, and clients know it will be difficult to replace me. I am extremely professional, never step a toe out of line, and go out of my way to keep my clients happy. It works really well, and they pay me very well as a result. Story 99. I go above and beyond because I am ADHD, And it's just the only way I function and have fun. Last week, the company I worked for 3 years, for which I wrote the first line of code, designed, built, redesigned, etc., the whole pipeline, went bankrupt because the C-level could not find paying customers. Unsure if I will be able to invest as much energy and commitment into anything ever again. Story 100. Both. It depends on the situation, depends on the incentive, depends on where I expect it will land me. On my third company, didn't learn the lessons in the first two. Burned out as a performer even here. More work, same pay. Sure as hell I coasted that one. Passed over for a promotion. Been made to wait. Managed to talk to someone for a transfer. Coasted until previous manager let me go. Transferred. They said our team of the year was a fluke, as it was mostly my predecessor's work. So again, above and won it year after with even bigger growth and a U to the critics, plus a nice chunky incentive. Was transitioning to coast mode and then bam, management change. And I got an extra chunk of work, burned me out. Took an early retirement and coasted until the end. Now new work, I did an above and beyond and got all my extra benefits, etc. early. Now I have 3 hats, but I minimum on 2 and above on 1. That one pays out a good commission. Story 101. I do not overextend my efforts if my employer does not either. Flexibility at my workplace is 0. Rewards or bonuses are non-existent. Not a single day of online work, not a single day of vacation you can choose. Every year we all get the same vacation days chosen by the company. So I won't sacrifice extra if they are not willing to either. Story 102. So I used to go beyond at work and do extra to help people out and never say no when people ask me to do something outside of my role is what I am calling it these days. But then all these things started becoming my job and I got overloaded with work and actually started getting in trouble for not saying no. I did all these extra things because I figured it took less time to just do it than to say no. Now I spend more time asking ChatGPT what is a professional way to say that's not my job than it would to actually do it. But I have to train people to know I am not your go-to person to do your tasks. Story 103. I'm a retail store cleaner, and I definitely go beyond what I should be doing. My coworkers couldn't give a shoot, always taking days off and not telling anyone, always missing rubbish all over the place and not using equipment or doing tasks. They sit scrolling brain rot on their phones instead of doing their job, which they expect me to do, and I usually do. Surprisingly, they're never late. And unfortunately, I can't be half-assed and decide not use or do my jobs. I can't leave bits of paper and cardboard and fluff all over the floor and stuck in display wheels. I have to be thorough and detailed to the point of there not being anything on the floor or surfaces because it bothered me if I just brush over something or miss something. So I do the best I can because my coworkers don't really care. And I'm trying to learn that nobody cares if I give it 100 or 10. Story 104. I recently had WFH benefits removed, which many of my colleagues got to keep. When I asked why they can still WFH and I can't, my boss replied, it's not in your contract. I now only work my contract to the letter. No additional tasks, no additional hours. They wanted it this way. Story 105. I like my job, I like my company, and I get paid quite well. So yeah, I go above and beyond, but without overdoing it. I won't put in massive overtime, but when I do make extra hours, my employer urges me to compensate these hours whenever possible. Don't even need to discuss this. They trust me enough to have me make those decisions myself. It goes both ways here, and that's pretty great. Story 106. Above, I get that not everyone will be recognized for going above and beyond, but I get far more satisfaction learning and improving my skill sets than just doing the bare minimum. In my case, it has resulted in recognition and salary increases. But I'm also in a job that gets measured daily, so there's really not a choice. I can't just call it in. Story 107. I believe in principle of reciprocity. If the company goes above and beyond for their workers, I'll do the same. If they treat me like replaceable shoot, I'll do the same. Want to get my most exquisite work, my loyalty? Pay for it like you should. We are not family. We are not friends. They need my work. I need their money. End of story. Story 108. Nope, never go above and beyond. I do the absolute bare minimum required to ensure I'm okay, but I don't want to give leadership any ideas that I'm capable of taking on more work. I made this mistake early in my career, sales, and all it resulted in was being assigned more appointments. I went from working 40, 45 hours a week to being expected to work 70 hours per week. Most of these appointments were also expected to be difficult clients, meaning a lot more work for worse close rates. I got burned out very fast. Never again. Story 109. I think in the middle for me, I don't want work to consume my life. I have a family to go home to. I have friends that I spend time with. I value my time and my relationships outside of work. But for my work, I want to get better and better with my skills, not for the organization I work for, but for myself so that I can feel useful and have a sense of achievement. If the organization doesn't pay what I deserve, then I would quit and find a place that values me. Story 110. It depends. Usually I do my best, but if I'm really not feeling well, I do the bare minimum. I like to do my best, IDK. I do it for my own purposes. It was how I was raised and how I like to do things. I like to do a good job and improve over time. I'm a good worker, but I'm pretty disabled now. Thanks, society. I still love a job well done. It just takes 100 years to do anything. Story 111. Bare minimum. Every day I do an amount of work that results in making the company more money than they're paying me, point blank. Otherwise, they'd be unprofitable. By default, they're already scamming me, so why wouldn't I scam them back? And that's assuming I'm making them barely more than what I'm being paid. In reality, I'm making them thousands and getting paid maybe a couple hundred for the day. Yeah, I'm going to do exactly what you asked me to do, and no more than that. Story 112. I'm an hourly lab tech in the medical field, and we do get overtime. So when I can go above and beyond, I try to do so because I get more money and I help more people. It also helps that the work I do is basically I grab more work, I do work, I go home. I don't have to deal with coworkers, good or bad, patients, good or bad, or bosses, good or bad. I don't go beyond what I'm capable of because burnout will make my quality worse. And as a med tech, that'll hurt the patients, and that's fudge. Story 113. I've always gone above and beyond. People will tell you it doesn't pay off, and I'm sure for most people it doesn't. But I've had great success moving up the ladder this way. I'm in a really nice spot right now, all due to me putting in extra hours and gaining knowledge in my off time. Sure, you can get by doing much less, but when critical opportunities or nicer assignments become available, your boss will choose you if they can trust you'll handle it well. At least in theory, don't get taken advantage of. Story 114. Both. Going above and beyond all day, every day isn't sustainable. So I handpick tasks or projects I go above and beyond on and try to gauge the level of effort BS payoff. If me going above and beyond on 3-4 things a year make my life and my team's life easier and more efficient in the long run, then the investment is worth it. I also work for a company that pays generally well, and I have managers who notice these things and am promoted or compensated for it. Every company manager isn't going to make sure you're rewarded for taking on more, but do the most is in me, and I can't ignore taking on things that better the team. But I also can't burn myself out either. There are absolutely days where I phone it in because, well, I'm human. And in my field, you can't take yourself too seriously. Story 115. Absolute bare minimum. I'm a union public works employee for a city, and I've learned nothing matters. Everything is seniority-based with no incentive to try hard or learn new things. I'm only 10 years in, but IDGAF anymore. Hopefully retire at 55 with a pension. Story 116. I get union pay. I make just as much as the guy who works his jerk off and goes above and beyond. I also make just as much as the guy who doesn't do shoot and does everything with very poor attention to detail. I am a commercial nuclear reactor operator. I try my best to do everything as perfect and correct as I possibly can. I uphold every safety standard and company standard that exists. I accept feedback from my supervisor and from peers and work hard to improve. I would say 90 of my peers have the same work ethic as me. Of course, there are outliers. Story 117. Bare minimum. Basically been told last week that I don't matter by corporate HR. The buddy system is more important than the policies they wrote and make us sign for. Then look into your fave and lie about what they mean. They get nothing but the bare minimum from me from now on. Only 16 more years until I retire. Story 118. My natural working pace and quality and quantity is greater than most I've found. In order to not be taken advantage of or to outwork my pay, I leave early whenever I can. I take every break I am afforded, and I milk all opportunities for all they are worth when it comes to the type of work I do and how invested I need to be. Because at the end of the day, I know I will have completed more tasks to a higher degree of satisfaction than most around me. My last thought on this, often the person that puts in the extra hours is seen as the harder worker, but I much rather have and be someone that works 30 hours to complete 10 tasks than someone that works 60 hours to complete 15 tasks. Story 119. I know there's no room for progression in my job. It'd only be possible if a manager leaves, and it's such a big company that you can't just informally request a pay rise. Everyone gets given a meets expectations performance rating every year. Besides each department's teacher's pet who does the same job as you for the same pay, but thinks they're the senior in your job because they get all the work dumped on them. So TLDR, bare minimum unless it